Hello, my name is Mandy Herrera, and my reflective paper is on motivation in teaching and learning. So let me quickly review the definition of what is motivation. And motivation is a desire to participate in the learning process. There are two types of motivation, intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation is a behavior that we engage in because the task or activity is personally rewarding. Now, extrinsic motivation is a behavior in which we engage in an activity or task because there is some outside reward. This could be money, maybe even fame within a social circle, grades, praise, and prizes most often, I'm sure, in our classrooms. So with extrinsic motivation, there are four types of motivations. So students who are extrinsically motivated, they tend to pursue learning tasks because they are engaging through external regulations. And this just means they are completely controlled by outside consequences. Then there is introjected regulation. This is when students engage in the task to avoid guilt or negative self-perceptions. There is also identification, where students participate despite the lack of interest because it serves a larger goal that is personally motivating. And the final one is integrated regulation, and this is where students participate in a task because it is both interesting, but it also does have that extrinsic reward value. So this next slide is labeled goals and goal orientation. Goals and goal orientations are essential in providing motivation and persistence in learning. The primary goal is to outline the teaching target, while goal orientation provides the reasons to engage in the purpose. So the four main goal orientations that drive students to engage in a task and complete it is mastery, which is where the goal is to do this just for the sake of learning. The next one is performance, which is to look good. This may be earning a higher grade than your peers or understanding the concept better. Work avoidance, and finally, social. Now, student goals are often reflective of the classroom and school structures. Personal mastery goals appear to be more attainable and lead to an increase in intrinsic motivation, while performance, work avoidance, and social goal orientations are more relatable to extrinsic motivation. So upon reflecting on motivation, Bandura's social learning theory did come up, and this is where he maintained that behavior was influenced by a blend of environmental and personal aspects, such as beliefs about outcomes based on behaviors and completing tasks knowledgeably. So what I took away from this was that with the social learning theory, we need to be just more aware of how to promote student self-efficacy beliefs because this is crucial in developing intrinsic motivation. So for me, this learning theory rings true to my heart only because I do teach sixth grade math. So every year as new groups of students come in, I am faced with students who dislike the subject for a variety of reasons. And my role as an educator is to build that inner confidence and give them or get them to trust themselves that they possess the ability to perform. Now, this is something that I know after reflecting that I need to use and reflect more in order to get my students to become self-motivated. So the next slide is just talking about teacher roles. Research has shown that effective teaching practices are more effective in responding to student lack of interest than trying to tackle the motivation directly. Motivation goes hand in hand with education and the teaching process. So that as educators, we need to understand what drives the students, right? And essentially, we are responsible for that. So in order to improve student beliefs and motivation, we need to capitalize on student needs, students being active participants in their learning, incorporating instructional behaviors that promote or motivate students. We need to make sure that we outline our goals and objectives, and most importantly, we need to be enthusiastic about the content, and there needs to be a de-emphasizing on performance and competition, because that only drives the extrinsic motivation, which is very short term. Now, my final reflection, right, is with motivation, we need to help our students feel competent. It has shown me that I need to view learning as a process rather than an end, and we need to meet the social and relational needs of children and adolescents. So motivation is not an individual difference, but it's a combination of students, inner self, and environmental characteristics. So students who appear unmotivated can often become willing and active participants when tasks are engaging and tailored to students' interests and social needs. So there are many external environmental factors that can affect our students' motivation, but as educators, we need to focus on what we can control. So what we can influence, right, is to help our students feel competent, viewing learning as I mentioned, a process rather than an end. And the reason that I chose this topic is because my future goals as an educator and as a future campus leader, I need to start looking at not just my classroom, but my campus structures and how these environmental structures ultimately affect my students' motivation. So I want to end with just saying, many students struggle with finding what motivates them. And if we're able to develop this, we will create a successful individual, not only in the classroom, but as well in society. So this is just a list of my references. I hope you guys enjoyed my video, and I wish you all the best of luck in your next module.